Fran Brown had one of the best seasons for a first-year coach last year in 2024. Can he do it again in 2025? Let's talk about it next on the College Huddle. And joining me this evening on the College Huddle is Pigskin Petey. That's right, everybody. I went out and got the big guns to talk Big Orange today. How's it going, Peter?
Good to see you. Good to talk, Cuse. Finally, we're relevant. Thank you for Kyle McCord. So
Yes, as a Buckeye fan, you are welcome for that. I think it was a win-win for all of us. But this video today is about those next steps that Fran Brown's going to have to take in 2025. But before we do that, Peter, let's go back to the hiring of Fran Brown. And what was the Syracuse fan base's kind of reaction to that hiring, getting that defensive coach from Georgia to come up to Syracuse, New York?
Thank you for that question, because I'm having to reflect now. It was positive. You get that Kirby Smart name attached to you with back-to-back national titles, right? And it's hard to not like what you're hearing, especially honestly, most teams in the Northeast. I'm not including Michigan. I'm not including Ohio State. I consider that Midwest anyways. But most teams in the Northeast don't care about college football, right? So if they hear oh, he coached under Kirby Smart and won 2 national titles, sold, signed, sealed, delivered. I'm a little more in depth, hardcore Syracuse fans are, right? And okay, what did he actually do? And I was still sold because of what he did previous to Kirby. He coached under Matt Rule at Temple, if you remember, as a defensive backs coach, and crushed. That's when Temple was crushing it, right? That's how Rule got his rise to then Baylor, and he actually followed him to Baylor for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went under Schiano when Schiano left you guys and took the Rutgers gig for the second time. And he obviously had been mentored by those two already, and then had the tutelage of Kirby Smart too. So everybody was pretty much sold. He made some comments initially in press conferences that I think further validated that, insinuating, and he's held true to it. It's not going to be easy to play here. And we had such a good season this past year that you alluded to, Eric. We actually preseason 2024, when Brown was hired, they let go of their best receiver because of off-field stuff, who had been showing out on the team for 2 years prior. I think his name was Damian Alford. That name's randomly coming to me. But he didn't play games, like Kirby Smart didn't do, Nick Saban doesn't do, Ryan Day doesn't do. The big names don't play games. And I think the combination, it was really positive. And then just in a couple weeks on the recruiting trail, the year before he got there, they were 88th in recruiting nationally, according to On3. The year he got there, he was in seat for 2 weeks, mind you, right? Mm-hmm. 2024 recruiting class, 37th in the country. So hey, those things, right?
Yeah.
Proceeding immediately, pretty much after the hire, because I think he had 2 weeks before early signing day happened at that time, and he still secured the class. So,
yeah, I'm glad you brought up recruiting, Petey, because I was looking into that. So last year he did do much better, and then right now the 2026 class, Syracuse is top 20 right now.
Yeah.
I think they got, according to 247 Composite, 1 4-star last year. They've already got 4 4-star recruits in the 2026 class. So I'm looking at Fran, and I think this is a guy who's a Northeast guy. Obviously, you alluded to that with the Temple, Rutgers time frame there, and then you couple that with how he's able to recruit the region in a way, going up against Schiano now, going up against Penn State. going up against some of the bigger Midwest schools who like to go in and poach from the Northeast when there's a good kid around New York and in the DMV and all those areas. This guy seems to be a home run hire, dude.
I'm scared, Eric, because be quiet. It is a home run hire. Because I think we both know where I'm going. It's freaking Syracuse. It ain't Ohio State. It ain't Michigan. It ain't Bama where they're going to roll out the red carpet and all the money in the world to keep these guys. I He's gonna leave if he keeps doing well. Somebody's gonna grab him. Another like big time ACC school, whether it be Florida State, Clemson. We you don't know where coaches are going to be in a couple years. I'm just mentioning names that could pay more than Syracuse pays. Texas A&M, Bama, Georgia, any SEC school, pretty much. A lot of Big Ten schools like Ohio State, Michigan, right? Like I'm worried because he's doing good. But then again, like you just have to if you're educated on college football and a Syracuse fan and know what we typically pay, like you come to terms with that. It's going to be the sport itself is cyclical, right?
Hmm.
Um, but like if you're at Syracuse, like you traditionally have not put your money into football. Now the counter argument question to that is they put it into basketball because of Jim Boeheim. As we all know, Jim Boeheim's no longer. They're awful in basketball right now. Therefore, do they put more of that money now into football? John Wildhack is the AD. I think, in my opinion, this is the first good football hire that he's made as a head coach, but it is a good hire. The other names, just to throw at you, that were talked about and either we were interested in them or they actually interviewed were Dan Mullen, who turned it down, and the Holy Cross head coach. I don't remember his name, but he's apparently done very good with that FCS level program. I kind of read between the lines on stuff, right? Mullen would have been good, steady, stable. And the Holy Cross head coach, I did not love just because I read that as like, we've paid pennies for head coaches before. This is just another way that we're paying pennies, right? Trying to get by with a guy that's going to be 8-4, 7-5. Maybe he gets good after a couple of years and then he leaves, right? So Fran Brown is a little more. I think he's like between 3 and 4 million a year, but at least you got him for what you got him for, right? But he's
Hmm.
definitely like I would say I would agree. He's definitely a steal hire. And that actually talking recruiting, it's so funny you mentioned the 4 stars because that's exactly what stuck out to me as well, knowing like you do the history the past few years for Fran of their recruiting. And that's it's not so much the overall class, which has gotten better, like you talked about, yes, but it's okay, we're now getting 4 stars. Like that's something that we weren't getting, you know?
Now Syracuse has always been competitive. They're not a pushover shove over program in the ACC. They've always been competitive. They've always been a thorn in the side for Clemson and some of the big guys in the ACC. And I think now some of the other larger programs in the ACC it's turning their heads because Syracuse, who's always been a thorn in their side, now has a guy who's able to back up what he's preaching over there, and he's doing it on the recruiting trail as well. So we're going to get into here in just a minute kind of the sustainability of that. But a part of the sustainability is making sure that you have a culture, a winning culture, a foundation that the program is built upon that everybody can point to. If you could describe Fran Brown's culture to me as a Syracuse fan, what would it be?
The acronym he uses is DART, DART. And I'm trying to find it real quick. Cannot find what it is abbreviated for. Um, but it's insinuates hard work, grind. Like I said before, not easy to play here, right? Um, they actually ACC Network did a feature on him last year, so heading into his first year, and a tradition that he kept up, which I really like, is they burn all the shoes from the years prior. Everybody gets at a giant bonfire and burns their cleats. I guess that's kind of a tradition that was started 10, 20 years ago and has kept going. But it's kind of like starting fresh, starting new. So I think the culture's right. It's good. Like I said, all the way back to like initially when he got rid of our best receiver, that was my first thought of like, this guy's not playing games. You know,
Mm-mm.
this is, and it also begs the question. Babers had to know the same stuff about this guy that had off field issues. I know it's just one instance, but like I'm just using it to compare, and I'm like, what the heck were you doing, Babers? You know, obviously we saw performance on the field was not up to par typically, that you want, and you know, and also like a comment Babers made. I'm not a Babers fan if you can't tell. So in 2023, I watched the ACC network, right? And the Big Ten, that's cool too. They profile all the Big Ten teams preseason, and they did one for Syracuse ACC. And Brown was touting a 6-6 record the year prior as a success because they made a bowl game. Eric, you and I are both from the same generation. 6-6, making a bowl game is not a success.
No.
Like there I mean, you used to have to be 8-4, 9-3, winning your conference and or second place to even make a Liberty Bowl. So when I know, like, fast forwarding now, like if you were to if Syracuse, knock on wood, in theory, was to go 6-6 in any year, Fran Brown is not going to go on camera and say that was a success, guaranteed. He's going to say it was an absolute failure and we need to do better. I get it. Coaches are trying to build positivity and build their program, and they made a bowl game. A lot of guys like that experience, right? Even if it's a not in CFP game, going to whatever destination it is, Miami, Arizona, California, right? They went to San Diego last year, Cuse did. Like, these are destination spots a lot of times. So, yeah, I get why Babers was saying that, but the culture is totally different. The expectations are different under Fran. And he said, again, it's in his presser, like, it's not easy to play here, point blank.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing he's doing, PD's, he's really hitting the transfer portal hard. Usually this points to several things. Number one, he's there, especially under a new coach. There's kind of this transition period. Syracuse did lose some people to the transfer portal, but you look at where those guys went, and the majority of them went to lesser programs. Um, Smaller schools, etc. Now you did have a few of them that ran off to some better programs.
Yep.
The defensive lineman Watson went to Texas. You had
Pena went to Penn
Penn
State.
State, yeah, Trevor Pena. But then also look at the list of guys you brought in, and I'm just gonna mention. I'm not gonna mention names. I'm just gonna mention teams they came from. Georgia, South Carolina, Florida State, Notre Dame, North Carolina, Louisville, Washington, Iowa, Alabama, LSU. Okay, like these are highly recruited guys who go to big time Power 4 programs, didn't get the playing time that they assumed that was coming their way, and now they're going to a Syracuse program that's got culture, that's got development. I'm going to say that shows that first year was number one, a success. Number two, he's great at recruiting. And number three, and this might be kind of something I want to lean into a little bit here, that means Syracuse NIL is healthy. You can't do that in the transfer portal and not have a decent NIL structure.
Yeah, I think it's stronger than it used to be. And gosh, I had something and I lost it. I'm sorry, but he's definitely using the portal really, really good, with the NIL too, and then just getting the guys, being a good coach and a sound leader. Jonte Cook is on his last straw, last ditch effort, right? Former 5-star from Texas. Then went somewhere else, but didn't go somewhere else, and like he's giving him a Hail Mary shot. So he definitely is. I mean, he's on the right track with him. He's
Hmm.
the portal. I the portal giveth, and the portal taketh away, right? So
Yes.
like, but you mentioned some big schools. Steve Angeli and Ricky Collins, specifically at the quarterback position, came out of the portal. Um, just talking quarterback for a second to
Yeah, let's
address
let's
that.
do that because you strike gold in Kyle McCord in 2025 in 2024. We're going back to the well again in 2025 here. Are we thinking we can do this over again? We're going to run this playbook back?
It's TBD. Like in my opinion, it's technically a three-headed race because you have the two transfer portal QBs, Steve Angeli and Ricky Collins. On the surface, people look at that and say, okay, Ricky Collins was the guy that came in the fall portal from LSU. He was third string there. He was just sick of waiting. Honestly, it's his backstory. He was behind Nussmeier for 2 years. I think when he came in as a true freshman, he was behind Jaden Daniels and Nussmeier, and then AJ Swan transferred from Vandy, so he's just still buried. I don't blame him. He had a hand injury though. I think still does, and did not participate in the spring game. Then, as we know, Steve Angeli um, enters the spring portal. Syracuse acquires him. So then it's much like the Tennessee situation, right? People just assume the shiny new toy is going to be it. No, in my opinion, there's still a competition. They also have brought in some highly touted recruits. Luke Carney out of Texas is going to be a true freshman. And then redshirt freshman Jakari Williams is actually our highest quarterback recruit since Donovan McNabb. And he's going to be a redshirt freshman out of Georgia. So I would hedge my bets on not having as successful a year, like record specifically. I would say 8-4, and I think if it was a Babers led team or something with, I'll say what I feel is a mediocre coach with this schedule, you're looking at 5-7, 6-6 at best. So the fact that they can be 8-4, right? Like you have to remember, like this isn't Ohio State. This isn't Georgia. This isn't Bama with Saban where it's just reloading. We're not to that point. So it's understood that it would probably be a 7-5, 8-4 season. Would I be disappointed a little if it's less than that? Yes, considering they just went 10-3 with the bowl game win. But I think that's kind of where they're at. Another point I want to make. So the quarterback position is, in my opinion, up in the air. The other point I want to make is he's really keeping the roots in Georgia at the high schools. He's obviously developed some connections recruiting there in his time under Kirby Smart with the Bulldogs. They brought in some really key guys the past couple high school recruiting classes that have stayed. One of them is Jakari Williams from Norcross. They got Jamie Tremble as well. And then King Joseph Edwards. King is this guy started a nonprofit at the age of like 5 or 10. Um, Good, great character guy, right? Which speaks to the culture, and he's still got it going. And they interviewed his mom and everything about it this offseason. It was kind of cool. And then Jamie Tremble is the next Aronde Gadsden, who was our like Kyle Pitts like tight end the past couple years. He just got drafted in the 5th round to the Chargers, but he's keeping that pipeline out of Georgia going. And another commendable thing about Smart, when he was with Georgia, right, and then he got the job at Cuse 2 weeks, remember, before the early signing period, aka 98% of the country signs. He takes the position at Cuse, so he's no longer binded to Georgia, but he still helped out with the KJ Bolden recruit, from my understanding, the 5-star that was about to go to Florida State, flipped to Georgia. He held true to that, and Kirby, and still kind of helped try to be as much as he could involved to solidify that recruit for Georgia. That's very commendable, right? Mm-hmm. We know guys have done the counter in the past, like Lane Kiffin. Remember when he was OC at Bama, Saban had to fire him because he wasn't able to like keep the main thing, you know. But you know, just commendable for Fran, I think, and just some stuff to share.
All right, you mentioned kind of the record. Let's look at the schedule now, and let's start with the non-con in the first 3 games. You got the big one in at the end of August. Now they're calling it a neutral site game, but my gosh, the SEC, it's such a joke when the SEC plays neutral site games. Right. We're going one state away, and like it's drivable right. for Tennessee right. fans, and Syracuse fans, it's an entire adventure or a plane flight. But I digress.
Yeah.
The non-con against Tennessee, and then you got two home games against UConn and Colgate.
Yeah.
UConn Northeast U.S. type of conference non-conference game. So that's old Big East, by the way. So
Yeah.
that's kind of fun. Colgate again, another East Northeast school there, but Tennessee's the big one. I think this is a great measuring stick for both of those programs, by the way. Tennessee's under some transition.
Yeah.
Syracuse is reloading and building a program here, building a sustainable program here. This is not a foregone conclusion Tennessee's going to win this football game by any stretch of the imagination, in
Yeah.
my opinion. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree now that Nico's gone. um, which may shock you as an Ohio State fan if you're listening, because you guys throttled Nico, throttled Tennessee. But I think that's a dynamic that shifted pre Nico. I look at all we lost. We talked about Trevor Pena. We lost Rondé Gadsden. We lost Kyle McCord. We also lost LaQuint Allen, our starting running back, who was fifth on the team in receptions as well. He just got drafted. So, and we lost our best defensive player in the Marlowe Wax. We lost a ton, Eric. So, when Tennessee had that continuity with Nico at the helm, say what you want to say about him, there was continuity, right? He
Sure.
had been under Hypo for a season, was comfortable with the system. Now you have both teams that are going to have the starting QB, the person with the ball in their hands every single play on offense, without familiarity as a starting quarterback in game action with that offense. Um, so whether Tennessee goes with Jake Merklinger, who's a redshirt freshman, former four-star, George McIntyre, true freshman, five-star, or Joey Aguilar, the transfer from UCLA, that's to your point. Like, I think it's a measuring stick. I really like Tim Banks, Tennessee's defensive coordinator. I know that didn't show in their last game last year against you, but the whole season in the SEC it showed. I mean, they produced a first round draft pick in James Pierce Jr., right, defensive
Hmm.
end. So, and they got stuff coming back. Like, that side of the ball for me scares me, because I really think that they can sink their teeth in. They have a lot of guys returning on defense that are familiar with Banks' system. They had success with it last year, so they're going to be super confident. I think looking at it, we would lose because of Tennessee's defense, not their offense, because both offenses, I think, are still going to be feeling each other out. And I just think they have a better defense at this time. Now, Fran Brown is a defensive coach. As we know, that's his calling card. Our defense last year looked awful, but this year, presumably, it's going to improve because he's in seat, the DC's back. So, but I don't think we're at Tennessee's level yet. Say that to say, too, like, early season losses, you guys know too, like, they're not bad. Um,
No.
they kind of get you playing right, I feel like, a lot of times. Look at some of Saban's teams. Saban had one undefeated team in his whole, like, all the national title teams at Bama. The others all lost. They typically lost early.
Yeah.
So I don't mind an early season loss. I think you may. It's kind of weird to think about, but I think the same. I know I'm diverting, but like the loser of Virginia Tech in South Carolina, which is also in Atlanta the day after Syracuse plays, may be better off in that season. You just don't know, you know?
Right. Yeah, it's a good point. Now, late in the season, before we talk ACC, let's go. Late November, you guys go to South Bend. You take on Notre Dame. As a Syracuse fan, as an ACC guy, what's your thoughts on Notre Dame?
I, I was out on Marcus Freeman, and now I'm in on Marcus Freeman. So, gosh, they got Jeremiah Love back, right? That running back, and he
Yeah.
wasn't even presumably fully healthy, like towards the end of the season. So that's scary. They have a question mark at quarterback too. CJ Carr is what's he, a true freshman? But he's not been given the reins for sure yet. Um, Marcus Freeman's a good coach, though, and I think like time of year matters. Tennessee's week one. We all know it, Eric. Unless you're playing at FCS school, it's a wild card. It's a toss up.
Hmm.
Um, but that's late in the year. So both teams are going to look a lot different than they do right now, what we're presuming them to be, or in week one. We will have gone through a gauntlet. I'm looking at our games before that. Georgia Tech's going to be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that. My
Yeah.
gosh.
So that might be our answer, right? And it's in South Bend. And
Yeah.
also, too, like, you can presume because of how they did last year, Notre Dame especially is going to be in playoff contention at that point, and the
Yeah.
games are going to be like it's going to be make or break for them. So that to me would be a lot of motivation. Also, I know we are a school in the Northeast, but we play in a dome. We play indoors. The game ain't indoors in late November, and
No.
so
Okay. Uh, let's talk ACC. You got 8 conference games. I'm gonna go through them real fast. At Clemson, home against Duke. At SMU, home against Pitt. At Georgia Tech, home against North Carolina. At Miami, home against Boston College. Brother, the ACC schedule gods did you no favors this year, my
yeah,
friend. Where
right.
you guys might have had the easiest ACC schedule last year, they gave you the hardest one this year, my man. Holy smokes,
Ain't it
dude!
funny? It's
Wow.
dude. I don't. I see Pitt and Duke and North Carolina. We'll say two of those three because they're all good teams, right? But they're all at home. BC too. I'll give us BC. I hate Bill O'Brien. So glad you got rid of him. Uh that's and you kept saying that's perfect. That's the best of both worlds. But anyways, Duke, Pitt, North Carolina, BC. We'll say they get 3 of those 4. They lose every single road game. Clemson's going to be nasty. They're actually my pick to win the national title game. Kevin Jennings is back as starting quarterback at SMU. It's at SMU. They won 10 games last year, 11 games, made it to the playoffs. Georgia Tech and Brent Key, I'm sold, signed, sealed, and delivered. He's back for another year. They just took freaking Georgia to 8 overtimes in Athens. That tells you all you need to know. And it's also like a team that really likes to grind clock, run the ball, limit your possessions. That's a good night. Miami's going to be super motivated because we beat them last year. You know that. And then Notre Dame we just talked about. So you're right. It's gosh, if I just said what I just said though, right? Like, is that 6-6
That's 5
ish?
that's 5 and 7.
It is
So,
what it
okay.
is.
So, all right, you're looking at a floor of 5 and 7.
Okay.
How do you get to 8 wins? Tell me how you get to 8 wins.
You beat Tennessee because I think that's hard. You're right, and I agree. That's a hard game, but it is the first game. It's a wild card. It's a coin flip essentially. Both teams have starting new QBs. So you beat Tennessee, you beat UConn, you beat Colgate, you beat either Clemson or SMU, and obviously you beat Duke. So that gets you to 5-1, right? And I'm saying like if you beat Tennessee, then you're riding high with momentum. You see what I'm saying? 3-0.
Yes.
I think you probably do lose to Clemson, honestly, because the 2 games before, that's what happened to Ole Miss this past year. They got lulled to sleep with easy competition. Then they played Kentucky, and it was like, whoa, this team's actually decent. That we play UConn and freaking Colgate, you know, and then Duke will win. So then I say we bounce back against SMU. Let's say so. Then we're 5-1. We beat Pitt. We're 6-1. We're rolling. I'll say we sneak out a win against Georgia Tech. We beat North Carolina and we beat BC. There's 9. If we lose then to Georgia Tech, that's 8.
Okay.
Sold.
Okay. I mean, hey, you've got me convinced if you guys win 8 games, dude, then this might be a more impressive coaching season for Fran Brown than last year.
That's true.
Like, like
Yeah.
that, like sign me up for ACC Coach of the Year. Hit
Right.
8 wins right there, man.
I got
Um, dude, that is a gauntlet right there in the ACC. No one in the ACC has that tough of a schedule. I just went through Clemson's. It's not even close to that. They avoid Miami. So
But
they don't even. Yeah,
what's
go ahead.
interesting, Eric, every year though, remember Florida preseason last year was deemed to have the toughest schedule of all time. And it did not end up being that because you don't know what teams are going to be or turn into. So I agree with you fully. We're sitting here looking at this like, geez. But you really never know. You never know.
Yeah. My gosh, this has been a ton of fun, Petey, diving into some Syracuse talk with you, my man. Where can everybody find you at? By the way, if you're not following this guy on Twitter, you're doing it wrong. He's a great follow on Twitter. It's one of my
It's
favorites.
good times. Thank you, Eric. Hey, yeah, at Pigskin Petey is the handle on X right there. I just have fun. Talk about football. All other sports too. I'm talking baseball now, NFL, college, basketball, and then you can subscribe to my YouTube channel too at Pigskin Petey. So
Yep, absolutely.
appreciate it, Eric.
You guys need to do that. Go follow him. He talks all college sports, but he's a Syracuse fan. That's why I brought him on. So thank you so much for your time, Petey. Now I got one question to ask you. As a non-Syracuse guy, as a Syracuse fan, what do Syracuse fans say to each other? Is there like a chant, or
Go
is
Cuse.
it go Cuse? I wonder if it was go
Which is what
Cuse.
nationally I think people say, right? It's just
Yeah.
go Cuse.
All
I
right.
always find it funny, like you guys are go Bucks or OH,
Yep.
IO. Um, you know, some have them, some don't, but it's lame when like Boston College. What the heck you got? Go Eagles? I mean, so yeah, go Cuse would be it.
Beautiful. All right, man. Well, if we end up running each other, you'll hear a go cues from me, my man.
You got it.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, do all those things. Let us know what you think about what we think down in the comment section below. Where do you think Syracuse is going to end up in 2025? We want to hear from you. Let's have a discussion down in the comment section below. And if you're a Syracuse fan, please consider subscribing here to the College Huddle. We talk college football from coast to coast. We have great guests on every single time, people who know their team, who can dive into the weeds of the school that they love, just like Petey can here for the Cuse. And so please consider subscribing to the channel, my friends. And as always, go Cuse!
Go Cuse.